Hello everybody, I'm about to do a video that is probably my fourth or maybe fifth attempt at this video, and this video is to talk about money. So we're not talking about in-game money like silver and gold and all the rest of it. We're talking about real money because it seems to be a fairly popular refrain that wargaming is with this game price gouging, with this game not thinking of its fans, with this game trying to make money and all the rest of it. And I suppose I just want to try and put a bit of that in context. So it is a commercial enterprise, and commercial enterprises need to make money. And IT enterprises, which is what this is, have a lot of vendors and a lot of costs. So don't for a moment imagine that this is cheap to produce. Its player base must be fairly large. If you go and have a look at the rankings, go look at the top 100 rankings, and you can get a feel for, if you watch the slope over time, you'll see that there's a very small number of people who have the league trophies, like tens of thousands. You look at the top players and 90,000, 80,000, something like that, and you see that they start to, sort of a pyramid starts to build up. By the time you're at the bottom of that top 100, you're still at an incredible number of trophies. And if you think about it, the player base, so if you think of it as a bell curve, you're looking at really the tip of the bell curve, and you can see the size of that bell curve, if that makes sense, by looking at sort of where it ends at that, the 100 mark, and how many people are in, let's say, the 30,000s and the 40,000s and the 50,000s of those trophies. So there's probably a fairly significant player base. But even then, if you think about the cost of paying a single developer, how many players do you need for that? So I think, I suppose my starting supposition really is that it has to make money. And there's going to be costs somewhere, and those costs are, at least with World of Warships Blitz, and I'll say that I'm very grateful for the team at Wargaming that works on World of Warships Blitz. At least it's got most things right. So I think the number one thing that I'm grateful for is that in most cases there is cost certainty. So when you spend an amount of money or an amount of gold, you know what you're going to get. That does break down when Tier 8s come out, and that's probably my number one gripe with the model, is that when Tier 8s come out, like the Enterprise or the Key or the Maya, are good examples. You grind, and then to make up the addition to the grind, there's either overpriced bundles, which would basically put the cost of the ship beyond the cost of buying it from the market, which I suppose is just basically a way of saying there's a first up premium, or there's loot boxes. And I think the loot boxes for me are probably the biggest problem this game has. I don't mind people grinding for in-game resources that give them loot boxes. That's fine, but loot boxes as part of the sort of the central economy, as it were, is the only way to really get something like the Key, the Maya, or the Enterprise. That's where I have a problem. But for the cost of ships, well, organisations price things at the cost the market will bear, and the market will obviously be bearing those costs, because if they weren't selling, the price would change. I don't buy those ships at those prices. I think that's what I prefer to do. I do spend money in the game. I prefer to spend it in gold. I look for specials, which is what, I'm a very conscientious shopper in that respect. I look for specials on gold generally, and when there's a special on gold, as long as it's not like $150 or something, I'll pop out for it. And I got to 18,000 gold. Creeping back up. I'm currently got the I've currently got the monthly subscription, which is 3,600 gold every month, which is adds a lot of free XP, adds a lot of silver, and gets that pretty good gold, and that pretty good gold at the end of it. So for me, it's worth it. You know, for the Blitz Pass, thinking about it, it's nearly, you know, it's 1.5, nearly probably 1 3/4 of the price of the monthly pass, but it comes with some keys and some ships and some gold and some other stuff. So, you know, I'm thinking about it, but I know what I'm getting into. So the reason the Belfast is in this video is because the Belfast is probably the sort of grind that really was probably the best example. So what it was it was really clear what you needed to do. It was sudden death, and what I mean by that is that there were 5 days where you had to win, I think, 30 battles. And if you, on one of those days you won 29 battles, you couldn't get the ship for free. But there was a reasonable top-up mechanism. So what happened was I bought a couple of packs to top up. I had the days and the weekend. I got the big values outside the weekend, and I topped up with cash. And, you know, that was a pretty good result for me. So it was essentially like a rebate on the ship when it came out. You got a discount. So I'm hoping that Wargaming does a little bit more like that. I'm not necessarily saying it has to be exactly the same cost model as the Belfast, but the certainty for me is good. And when I compare it against what I'm seeing with other games like the Puerto Rico and World of Warships, and I'll put some links below, you know, we have a lot to be grateful for, I think. The team in the Blitz team in Wargaming, I think, are doing all right. And when I have a look around at what, you know, could be happening, yeah, they're pretty good. So thanks guys for making the game great. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm sure there'll be comments on this one, and we'll catch you next time.